So if a half man, half dog is his own best friend, what does that make a half man, half cat? Is it his own worst enemy? Hi, I'm Mike Siegel. I write for Ordinary Times, and this is The Throughput. So a very special episode for you today. I'm going to be doing a reaction video to a 1980s space epic, Spaceballs. The plot of the movie goeth thusly. Planet Spaceball is running out of fresh air, and to preserve themselves, the Spaceballs are planning to steal the atmosphere of nearby planet Druidia in order to give them 10,000 years of fresh air. To advance this plot, they're going to kidnap Princess Vespa, the daughter of the king, and force him to give them the combination to the atmospheric shield. And it is up to a plucky space pilot and his half-dog, half-man companion to rescue the princess, foil the Spaceballs, and save planet Druidia. If that sounds familiar, it's because it is. It's basically a hodgepodge of plots from Star Trek and Star Wars, as indeed much of the movie is. And so I don't think we're going to see anything terribly original, but we'll get right into it. No, we've been over this. I have neither the authority nor the inclination to buy an extended warranty on the Hubble Space Telescope. I don't even work for Hubble anymore, I work for Swift. No, I'm not interested in buying one for that either. I'll give you the number, the guy you need to talk to. It's area code 202-456. Yeah, that's the number. No. B as in boy, B-I-D-E-N. I don't know, the next 2 to 6 years, I guess. Okay, where were we? Oh, we're back. We break for nobody is probably a good motto for a ship this large. If you have a ship that's that massive, it has an enormous amount of momentum. So if you were going to intersect the path of another spaceship, you'd be almost impossible to stop. So you have to rely on them to redirect their trajectory. So some good science here, I guess, with We Break for No One.
Now that I have my coffee, I'm ready to watch Radar. Where is it? Right here, sir. Switch to teleview. There it is, planet Druidia. And underneath the air shield, 10,000 years of fresh air.
So a couple of things going on here. First of all, it is actually a good idea to have coffee before you watch Radar. The caffeine and other chemicals within the coffee stimulate your brain, and you might pick up more subtle things that you might before, so it's definitely recommended. So with the basic plot, the idea is that Planet Spaceball has run out of air. Now, I assume that they mean they've run out of oxygen. That would be quite difficult, but when we see Planet Spaceball later in the movie, it looks like it's almost entirely city, kind of like Coruscant in the Star Wars movies. So we'll assume that they don't have any plant life to generate oxygen anymore. Assuming planet Druidia and Planet Spaceball are very similar to Earth, Earth has about a quadrillion tons of oxygen in its atmosphere, so even if you had no more oxygen being fed into that, it would take quite some time to consume it up. The average human consumes about a half a kilo of oxygen every day with their normal body processes. So with a population similar to Earth, even if you stopped adding oxygen, it would take about 1 million years for that to run out. Assuming Planet Spaceball is very badly run, has a much larger population, has lots of industrial processes, 10,000 years is about that. But really, there are a couple of problems with this, which is, one, if you want oxygen, there are planets that have ice and stuff like that where you can just get it, break down ice or carbon dioxide and so forth. And carbon dioxide brings up another point. If you're running out of oxygen because people are breathing it, you're gaining carbon dioxide. If you gain too much carbon dioxide, We are talking about this on Earth, where we have a growing amount of carbon dioxide, and it is trapping more heat in the Earth's atmosphere, therefore creating global warming. Now, on Earth, carbon dioxide is a fairly trace element, but on, say, Venus, it's the dominant element. Venus's atmosphere is almost entirely carbon dioxide, and it has a runaway greenhouse effect. That's why Venus, despite being the second planet closest to the sun, actually has the hottest surface because of that greenhouse effect of the carbon dioxide. You wouldn't get that in this case, with Earth or with Spaceball, but you would get, with rising carbon dioxide levels, those would actually start affecting people with losing consciousness and so forth. So I think running out of oxygen is the least of their problems here. They'd probably be better off finding some, way to break carbon dioxide back into oxygen, but we'll go with it. Winnebago is probably not the most ridiculous spaceship we've ever seen. I mean, it is a bit silly. How do you generate artificial gravity on something that small? But yeah, the Winnebago, actually, I looked this up. The frame is made out of aluminum. And the original Apollo missions where the surface was made out of an aluminum sandwich with different types of aluminum sort of sandwiched together to make a tough but lightweight skin for the spacecraft that would protect the astronauts but not add too much weight. So it's not that unrealistic, I guess. One other thing I like about this scene is the love given to the planet Uranus. It's kind of an ignored planet, so I'm glad to see that it is, at least in some galaxies, recognized for the truly remarkable planet that it is.
Radar about to be jammed.
Radar works by sending out radio waves or increasingly microwaves and bouncing them off the objects, and then when those objects return, you can interpret the shape of those echoes to get the shape, distance, and speed of a distant object. The way you jam radar is you generate enormous amounts of radio or microwave noise in order that it's just receiving a lot of mixed signals, and so it can't get a correct interpretation. What they've done here is sort of more of a physical barrier, which actually wouldn't be that bad, I guess. And interestingly, like the jam in the dish, that could actually help. Back when in the 1950s, these scientists Penzias and Wilson were looking at the night sky, and they discovered this sort of microwave hiss that they couldn't get rid of. It turned out it was the cosmic microwave background, the background radiation of the Big Bang they were detecting, but they didn't know that at the time. They thought it must be something local. And at one point, one of the things they did was got up into the horn of the telescope, and I'm not making this up, to sweep it out of pigeon crap, because pigeons would nest in there, and wherever pigeons nest, they're going to poop. And pigeon poop, like everything else that has a temperature above zero, gives off radiation, in this case, microwave and radio light. And so they swept it out because they thought maybe that was the source of the noise. So putting jam inside a radar might generate some amount of radio or microwave noise, but I think they're just being cute here because really you want to go with traditional jamming techniques.
Jammed. Raspberry. There's only one man who would dare give me the raspberry. Lone Star.
Raspberry actually would be poorly suited to this. The shape of the raspberry would actually kind of enhance the radio waves. What you really would want to use here is strawberry. It has those pits in it, so it absorbs the radio waves and scatters them out to much better angles, and so it's a much better substance for here. The problem with strawberry is it's kind of difficult to work with, and a lot of people, including my mother, are very allergic to it. So I do understand why they used raspberry, but it is scientifically inaccurate.
What are you?
I'm a mog. Half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
So Barf says he's a Mog, half man, half dog. Astro here and I were discussing this scene yesterday, and he pointed out that dogs have 78 chromosomes, whereas humans only have 46. So it's really difficult to imagine that you could get the balance there to have a functional hybrid. Horses and donkeys have a similar number of chromosomes, not exactly, but you can then crossbreed them and get the mule hybrid, which is sterile, but is able to do a lot of work and very functional. But he's not of the opinion that a dog-human hybrid would work. And to be frank, Astro was a little offended that people thought they could improve upon the dog. I've talked before about the solutions to Einstein's equations. There's the black hole, which we all know about and actually exists. There's the white hole, which is a theoretical construct which we have never seen. There is the wormhole, which is another theoretical solution to Einstein's equations, but we don't know if those exist or are traversable. One of the things that is less well known is that there is a plaid hole solution to the Einstein's equations. This was constructed by Scottish scientists in the 1960s, and it really didn't get a lot of attention until Stephen Hawking gave it some attention in the 1980s. Now, plaid holes are even more of a theoretical construct than the wormhole or the white hole. And most scientists don't think that this is a serious solution. It's just a weird solution to the mechanics, kind of like imaginary numbers or something like that. So I think they've misunderstood it. It wouldn't allow faster than light travel or anything like that. It would just allow you to fall into a black hole and complain about it. The thing they do get wrong here is that if you did have a plaid hole or a plaid solution to Einstein's equations, the color is wrong. This should not be orange. This should be blue because of the Doppler shift of the light as it goes into the plaid hole. That should cause a more blue color, and so they do get that wrong. So one of the things that kind of gets ignored in science fiction is inertia. You have these spaceships that accelerate from 0 to the speed of light. You've been in a car when it accelerates and it pushes you back. That would like smush people into jelly. In the rare cases it's addressed, they'll say something like, we have inertia dampers or something like that absorbs the inertia and so forth. So it's nice to see a science fiction movie actually address the concept of inertia, and that if you accelerate a spaceship very fast or decelerate it very fast, that's going to have an effect on the occupants. Unfortunately, as with many things in this movie, they took this concept and got it wrong. If you're decelerating from ludicrous speed down to sublight speed, the acceleration is almost infinite, and so Dark Helmet wouldn't just fly forward and hit the console. He'd be like a little splatter, and in fact, this whole spaceship would probably tear itself apart from this deceleration.
Colonel Sanders, may I speak with you, please? Yes, sir. How could there be a cassette of Spaceballs the movie? We're still in the middle of making it. Oh, that's true, sir. But there's been a new breakthrough in home video marketing. Yes. Instant cassettes. They're out in stores before the movie is finished.
This scene with the instant movies, in 1980s, it seemed kind of ridiculous because there was a very long time delay, many months between when a movie would come out in the theaters and when it would come out on video. These days, it's really quick when you get a movie out on video. And in fact, in the streaming era, it's not unusual to have a movie come out on streaming, on home video, before it hits theaters. And it's really only a matter of time, I think, before movies come out before they're made, where you have some predictive AI that, given a script, can predict what the movie is going to look like. In fact, I think the last 3 DC movies were written by AI. I mean, Morbius absolutely was.
President Screw!
I told you never to call me on this wall. This is an unlisted wall.
Sorry, sir, but it's very important.
So another kind of thing where the movie's kind of prescient. I mean, we live in this digital era where people routinely tweet from the toilet, where they have Zoom conference, they do Zooms from their bathrooms, especially during the pandemic and so forth. So in the 1980s, this seemed kind of ridiculous, but now it seems like kind of routine.
Changing into
A gigantic
maid.
with a vacuum cleaner. So that's how they're gonna get the air out.
This idea that they're going to use this giant maid to suck the atmosphere off of planet Euridia, there is a kernel of reality here. At one point, there was considered a plan to have a spaceship that would suck carbon dioxide out of our atmosphere to fight global warming. NASA quickly abandoned those ideas because of what you see in this movie. The suction would be incredibly destructive, and you're about to see what will happen when they turn it on. I mean, think about it. If you're going to pull the entire atmosphere off the planet in, say, an hour, that atmosphere has to get from the far side of the planet all the way to the vacuum. And so that's going to travel at thousands and thousands of miles an hour. You're talking about something that's 10, 20, 30 times as powerful as a hurricane. So it's going to cause immense destruction. So that's one of the reasons NASA abandoned this plan, because even at a tiny fraction of that would be immensely destructive. And the destruction that they're about to show is actually quite accurate for what a giant vacuum would do to an atmosphere. So there's a kernel thing here, but of course, with everything this movie does, it takes that kernel of scientific accuracy and then just blows it up into absurdity.
What? They're getting all their air back. Do something. Do something. Do something.
This, is kind of ridiculous. You wouldn't have, when you reverse the vacuum, everything go back exactly where it was. The amount of destruction that would be caused on the planet by this giant vacuum would be irreversible. And so they want a happy ending here, but you're not going to get that.
What the hell are you doing?
The Vulcan neck bench?
Oh, no, stupid. You got it much too high. It's down here where the shoulder meets the neck.
Like this?
Yeah.
So this scene is kind of interesting because there are a lot of mistaken conceptions about the Vulcan neck pinch. A lot of people do think it's high up there, so I'm glad they had that correction where they show that it's actually lower on the neck, where the shoulder meets the neck, where you're getting into the arteries and so forth. But in reality, I will talk about this in my Star Trek series, which is a hint of what's coming down the pipe. That the Vulcan neck pinch, there's no scientific basis for that. You can't just put your hands on someone and have them pass out. And if you just put your hands right here, that's not going to make someone...
You have the ring. And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine. Now let's see how well you handle it.
A little bit of scientific accuracy here. Everyone knows that the size of the Schwartz does matter, but how you handle it also matters. So both are necessary for ideal Schwartz usage. So overall, what do I think? Well, I mean, the movie's okay, I guess. It does have two very outstanding actors in John Candy and Rick Moranis, usually comic actors, but in a serious role this time as Dark Helmet and Barf. Moranis makes some interesting choices. He makes him kind of whiny, which at the time seemed kind of silly, but now that we've actually seen Anakin Skywalker in action, it seems more accurate than we thought.
I don't like sand.
In terms of scientific accuracy, though, I mean, this movie is all over the place. You have ludicrous speed, you have the plaid holes, and they misuse them. You have this destruction of Druidia that's instantly reversed and all this stuff. I think this might be the first movie I give 5 face palms to. It's just really absurd in some of this. And really, the movie's kind of sloppily made. In some scenes, you can actually see crew members.
He did it. What?
And there's another one where you can clearly see that it's the stunt doubles, not the actual actors. I don't understand how that got through an editor. And there's other scenes where you can see wires holding things. And so it's really sloppily made. So overall, I mean, it's almost like someone was making a parody of a science fiction movie. And wait. So, let's see. Most of what I said can be salvaged. Yeah, this is a delightful send-up of space operas of the 1970s and 80s, and really is a good parody of Star Wars, and an affectionate parody, which is why it is so effective. And the performances of the main cast, Brooks, Pullman, Zuniga, and of course, Candy and Moranis is just fantastic. And so I definitely recommend this if you like seeing science fiction poked fun at. Did that fix it? Fix it? So yeah, be sure to mash that subscribe button. Until next week, I'm Mike Siegel. I write for Ordinary Times. Thank you for watching. All right, you're gonna stop making noises like you're trying to give birth to a baby DVD player. Ideally, both are needed for optimal Schwartz usage. For optimal Schwartz, so ideally both are necessary for optimal Schwartz usage. Ideally, both are needed for optimal Schwartz usage. But ideally, both are necessary for ideal Schwartz.